All right. Check my stream, make sure it's showing up on YouTube. All right. And we are live. Welcome to episode 2 of Equipped Live. This is the monthly Arkansas Youth Worship podcast where we discuss all things worship and creative ministry. Today, I'm so excited to welcome a guest to you guys, Ryan Johns. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
All right. So I just want to give you guys a quick little news thing here. Camp meeting coming up Friday night. I believe it is the 10th of June. Arkansas Youth Worship Choir is going to be singing at camp meeting that Friday night. So if you're playing or singing in the choir, make sure you check GroupMe for all those announcements and arrival times and everything. And if you're not playing or singing, come show up, support. It's going to be a great time. Camp meeting's always fun. Another little news thing that I wanted to highlight that I just thought would be cool for our little community to check out is UPCI Arts. I don't know, Ryan, if you've even been involved in this or how much you've heard about it, but when I saw it, man, I was like, that is a really cool premise to do UPCI Arts and have that narrative and storytelling need filled. So I'm just going to read like the purpose statement here that kind of caught my attention. It says UPCI Arts exists to create and support spirit-led storytelling that communicates truth with excellence. Through live dramas, narrative films, visual arts, and creative collaboration, we seek to develop apostolic artists and craftspeople while creating meaningful experiences that glorify God, strengthen the church, and reach beyond its walls. I think that's a very cool ministry for the UPCI to kind of embrace and start working with. I know I personally have always been a fiend for a good story. I kind of fell in love with, fantasy and like storytelling and the art of telling a good story, whether it's visually or in your sermon or whatever. And so having that visual storytelling aspect, I think that's going to give outlet for a lot of creatives. And also it's going to be able to minister to a lot of people in new ways that the UPCI has never done. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Well, moving on from news and welcome, Ryan, I wanted to take a segment and just really get to know you. Some of our viewers and listeners might not even know who you are and what you do. So give us a rundown of kind of your journey in the worship and creative ministry. For those of you who don't know, this guy does everything and he's great at everything. So just kind of tell us how you got where you are.
Man, so I was born in Jackson, Mississippi, start at the very beginning. Jackson, Mississippi.
Let's do it all the way back.
And then my dad, he was a youth pastor there, and then he moved to St. Louis and became kind of like the youth ministries. Started as promotions, worked his way up to, I think he was promotions, and then he worked up to youth president, what DJ Hill is now. And so we lived there for 8 years, and in that time frame, that's kind of where we developed a lot of different things. My dad and mom, they really didn't want us to be pigeonholed, I guess is the word, into one specific thing. So he was like, hey, I want to give them a broad toolbox kind of set of things that you can do with your life. And so I'm not going to make you a preacher. I'm not going to make you a football player. But he wanted us to have all these skills. So he taught us baseball. He taught us football. My mom was great at keeping us involved, music lessons, and then just supporting all of our crazy ideas. I mean, for Christmas, I got an airbrush set. That was cool.
Wow.
Gonna get a drafting table. They let us borrow their home video camera, and we made our own little movies in the basement. And I found one of them the other day, and it's terrible. No one will ever see that. But just letting us be creative and let us be boys. I had 2 other brothers, so 3 boys, and no screens, back then. And I'm 43, so I mean, Nintendo had just been out for 3 years when I was born or something. So we didn't watch movies. We just played. So lots of creativity, train sets. We built forts. We were involved in Christmas musicals. So that's kind of like how I got started. And the older I got, I sang in choirs. I led worship, played piano. I did puppet ministry.
Awesome.
I was in Easter drama. I was the bad guy in an Easter drama. I had to take sword fighting lessons. It was wild. I've done all kinds of stuff, and I've even done stick dramas at a certain event. I don't want anybody to go find it, but I've done the stick thing, and I didn't do a great job at it. But and then I loved writing poetry. I guess when I was about 15, I started liking to write poetry. I've got a book of poetry I pulled up the other day. No one will ever see that either. But just like finding a bunch of creative outlets. So I just loved anything creative, anything I get my hands on.
Yeah.
I even wrote and submitted some stuff to the UPCI Youth Had a magazine back in the day. So I had one of those published. So you think you're amazing if you get something published. So stuff like that. And then being in the church, our youth group had an event and they needed music. So we're like, let's start a band. Maybe we could start a band. So we started a little band and like, well, we need to write our own song. So we sat down and just figured out how to write a song. I took a poem and we converted it into a song. And again, it was terrible. And we just did stuff like that our whole lives. And out of that led another thing. And then we started writing more songs. And then, bands were not a big deal back then. And our band was called Down to Earth. And so we started playing different things. And someone was at our church, a minister, and he's like, why don't you come to this event I have in Texas? Well, we showed up and it's like at Six Flags on this big stage. We had no idea what we were doing. I mean,
oh my gosh.
And we were like, oh man. So stage, band. So we were just doing it for fun. We were the worship band in our youth group. We created it. So we kind of created something out of necessity. And that's just kind of how things kind of become more involved. So now for me, I'm at my church. I've been here for, 20 years at our church and on staff. And I started right out of our college and volunteered during high school. But the thing about it was just doing whatever I could to help the church. And so as I got into it, we just did whatever. So now I'm the director of music and production. So I have two pretty big roles. And so I'll talk about that a little bit later. But and then on the side, I'm a creative director, I guess is the technical title for Youth Congress last year.
Oh, wow.
And then a creative director for General Conference. So last couple of years. So, and basically that's a fancy word for content wrangler to get everything to the production companies from the UPCI. So I'm like the middleman. Yeah. So they have their designers and I just kind of filter everything through the lens of production into the production company's lens. It's called Streamline. They're a great company that's helped us out. And so like getting there, I was kind of thinking about it like, oh, well, you do all this stuff with, and me and Daniel Bernard kind of manage both of these events with his company. He's got a little production company called Blue Rocket, and that's what we call ourselves, and kind of under that. So in that, I was trying to figure out how I got there. So I'll give just, if you'll humor me, I know we got a couple of minutes.
Oh, go for it.
Almost done. So people are like, well, how do you get there? And so I was like, here's my schedule. So 2001, Youth Congress was in Atlanta, and I sang I was in a choir. We had like an Atlanta youth choir. So I sang there. And then in Nashville, we submitted a song, I Can Only Imagine, and we sang I Can Only Imagine in a pre-service in 2003. Then 2005 in Ohio, our youth choir sang just like a pre-service, one song. We were starting to get into loops and tracks, and I was trying to build everything in Propellerhead Reason. I had no idea what I was doing.
I've never even heard of that. Is that a DAW?
Yeah. It's like I think a couple people even still use it for like loops. It was really good at loops. And so then 2007, I played acoustic. I didn't even know how to read I didn't know numbers, and I'm playing at Youth Congress. And they're teaching me on the fly. It was crazy. And then 2009, I did after event music coordinator in Nashville. So I set up all these bands and groups, and then I lugged equipment from Atlanta and set up everything. Went and picked up like Andy Ferguson. He would play at church. I'd pull up to the arena. He'd run out. I'd have dinner for him, and I'd shuttle him to another event, and he'd play. And then 2011 and 13, I led worship. And helped in those venues. And then 15, 17, 19, I was a photographer. And then in 2021, I was the media guy for the virtual Youth Congress. 2023, I was the stage coordinator. So I sat at a trash can and wrangled people up and off this platform. And then 2025, I'm creative director of managing a lot of crazy stuff. Managing stream, managing the looks, managing the lights, the LEDs, just kind of like making sure it all is cohesive. So 25 years. So people wonder, like, how do you get there? Well, it's being whatever you can and doing whatever you got to do. So yeah, so that's kind of like my story. And I have 3 kids. I'm married to Kinsey. She's from Houston. She's amazing. She deals with all my creative, weird ideas. I have a 3D printer here in my office and just anything, just anything creative. And then 3 kids, Camden, Kendall, and Ryland, 8, 6, and 1. So that's my family. That's me in a nutshell. And that's just who I am and what I do. And that's a little bit of my resume. So,
Dude, that is so cool. I knew you did everything, and you just told me a lot more about your story that I didn't even realize was there. So, um, I didn't want to ask before we get into all the question and answer. I did have a question kind of like directly related to that.
yeah.
When you're like growing up and you've got these hobbies, maybe they're hobbies or maybe they're just like slight interests and something that catches your interest. How is it like, do you decide, oh, I'm going all in on this one thing and I'm going to learn it? Or is that just part of your like personality and build? Or did you intentionally decide some of those things? Like how easy
Mhm.
was it for you to just become the jack of all trades? Is it natural to you, or were there some things you really had to work for? Like going from, just a pastor's kid and then just learning everything and being available for everything. Like, how do you even,
Yeah, man, it's like just having a sandbox and you just playing with stuff. And really, when I really started doing a lot of this, YouTube wasn't even really a thing. I didn't know about YouTube. So you're just trying to like figure out on these websites and like digging through tutorials and just crazy stuff. And I think a lot of it for me, there's different personality types. And the more I see it, I am more of a let me go dig it out, come up with the idea, big picture, let me dream it, scheme it, and then someone else executes it. That's probably my forte. My dad's always told me, he's like, hey, Ryan, 95%, you got to finish that 5%. You can get
yeah.
95% of the work done, but that 5%, and that's what everybody sees is that 5%. So I've had to work really hard at just like getting it done and finishing it and seeing it through to completion. Because it's very easy to dream it up, scheme it up, but then to get it to
Mhm.
100, that's really tough for me, at least. So maybe not. Maybe some other people feel that way, but that's kind of one of my things. But yeah, I just dig it out, learn it. Like I'm gonna play guitar, so I'm just gonna give everything to learning how to play acoustic. I downloaded tabs and started reading little things, and I just figured out how to play it. And just 16 years old is when I started playing guitar. Just figured out how to do it. So
I relate to that so hard, what you said about that 5% at the end, because I'm
yeah,
the kind of person, infinite idea generator. Like I can, I feel like I have the potential to be infinitely creative sometimes, but then it's like there's this cognitive disconnect when it comes to presenting a finalized product that I just always feel like, well, there's still a little bit more I could do to make this better, or like, this
yeah,
isn't exactly where I want this to land, and then I end up not having anything, and that discourages me, and then I kind of give up on that and move to something else. So it's like that 5% advice is so crucial. Like just finish and present what you have. Like it
yeah.
doesn't it doesn't have to be the perfect polished. You don't have to be crazy the expert at something to be able to put out a product. Just,
No.
being willing to do something from start to finish makes you a better creative.
Yeah, and the best way to I was letting someone hear a multi-track. Some of our singers, we were listening to a multi-track from an older song that was tracked, and I had soloed out the soprano part, tenor part, alto part, and they were like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "It's not perfect. They're far from perfect. And now everything's polished with tech, and we can do all this stuff. But back in the day, I mean, even now, get it done. Just get it out there. At some point, you have to say enough is enough, and or find people in your corner that can get that 5% done for you. It can help you
Yeah.
catch your vision and then send it on. You know.
Last thing I'll
Yeah.
say is, I've loved writing songs for a long time. I just haven't finished very many. And it was crazy how opened my eyes were. Um, Brittany Scott actually talked about how essential it was to do group songwriting sessions if you want to be a good songwriter,
Yes.
because that same process of almost finishing a song, that 5% might come from literally one 10-minute conversation with somebody else, and then you realize how complete you are, like how
Hmm.
that other person's idea is just perfectly bring everything together. And we did
Yeah, it is.
Arkansas Youth Worship songwriting. It was we released 2 songs. I think it was several years ago, but it was cool how much easier it was for me to watch the process from start to finish happen when it wasn't just me, when it was like
Hmm.
a room of other people who also had those ideas like I did. And it
Hmm.
was just like, it was such
Yeah.
a cool process. So that group songwriting and like working together, bouncing off other creatives, very
Yeah.
essential.
Oh yeah, co-writing. Brittany actually was the first person I co-wrote with ever. I'd always written by myself, and she's like, "You really need to do this. It's really essential." And so I was like, "Okay." She said, "Well, if you're nervous, just we can write." So we got a Zoom thing one time, and the song we wrote actually ended up being uh, recorded with Little Rock. Nobody Higher. It was on their big camp meeting album they did, and so
Okay.
we ended up writing like 4 songs for that album. And This Place, All Glory and Honor Praise, one, and then
Dude, this
no,
place is that's a legendary hit. Like that's a banger, dude.
it worked out. That was a and again that's a co-write, and that's somebody else that said, "Hey, I got this song. I can't finish it. I don't know what needs," and she gave it to me and Kurt to work on, and we just started working on it. He said, "Hey, I got this song." We actually were there writing with James Wilson for his album, that first one that he did, and
Cool.
yeah, we actually wrote "Able to Do Anything" out of that one, and then I don't know if there was anything else on that album, but yeah, we just sat down one day and he was like, "This song, I think this will be a great song, but just some stuff is not working." So we worked it out, finished it that evening, and it became a song, and it was powerful and it's worked and it's gone so many places I never thought a song would ever go. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great song.
Love it. All right. Moving on into our next segment. We're going to call this the toolbox, if you remember it from last week. Um, Ryan, you have a tool to drop in our toolbox today. We want to be equipped. So,
Mm.
what do you think is like your biggest piece of advice you would give to young aspiring worship ministers and creatives right now?
Well, for me, for creatives, I think it's don't throw anything away, and like always keep your ideas, because that's just gonna something will spark somewhere. So never throw away an idea. For creatives, for worship leaders, I was focusing more on that. The main there's the cliche as it sounds, but when I took on the worship and creative, I was like, I have to listen. I have to hear from God every week to put these
Yeah.
songs out, and I have to. So praying and fasting, that is like obviously the quintessential thing that you have to have. But for me, the biggest thing I've learned over the years, and I hopefully my team can attest to this, is when someone wants to walk away. This is kind of a weird tip or trick. Let them go. And so many
Wow.
people, and that's the weirdest thing to say, but let people go when they're ready to go, because by the time they've gotten to you and they've gotten the nerve up to say I'm done, they're already done, and there's no really
Oh my
turning
gosh.
back.
Yes.
And so don't kill them, and keep the door open. So let them go, but keep the
Hmm.
door open and say, "Hey, whenever you want to come back, we'll work it out. We'll figure out a way to get you back to the path." Because a lot of times there's so many things going on in their head, so many things that they need to, like their family or their life or whatever they're going through in their heart. They may be struggling spiritually, but I've always found out, like, you can ask all the way to my teenage youth band leader years. It's like, let them go. And it's hard, but God has always provided someone else to fill that role. Whenever
Hmm.
someone's walked away and I'm like, I don't have a bass player. My bass player goes to Bible school, and up comes another one right behind him. And I've never had it's the whole scripture, never seen the righteous forsaken. Like, he's going to take care of his church, and he's going to provide. So just let him go,
Yeah.
and don't
I
kill him.
100%, man. I'm an actual product of that
Oh yeah.
mentality because I remember a time in my dad was a home missions pastor, and there was just a season where it just so happened like our worship leaders and majority of our stronger vocalists and musicians, pretty much our
Yeah.
whole team happened to move away from our church at the same
Wow.
time.
Wow.
And I'm a 14-year-old. I've taken a year of acoustic guitar lessons, and literally that moment when
Yeah.
all of that happened right at the same time, that's when I learned my first song on piano. And literally from there, I have never looked back.
Yeah.
Like God just built me for that
Yeah.
moment
Yeah.
because, I stepped up to the need, and, we had some people that we had to let go, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that was like, that birthed a calling in me. And so there's some people that you don't even know, like they might be the next huge musician for your district that carries your district through a lot of events, or, ends up
Yeah.
writing great songs, but that
Yeah.
calling could be birthed because you were willing to let somebody go. So I like that advice. Do you have any like other
Um,
specific elaborations on that, or is that pretty much?
Yeah, I think don't kill people too. Like when they do that, and just give a lot of grace because you're gonna need it. You're gonna make a mistake as a leader, and you
Yeah.
don't want the moment that you need grace for them to kind of like, well, you didn't do that to so and so, because your team's gonna see it. And I've tried to create an environment that is um, resourceful, and it's light, and it's thoughtful, in the way in the approach of leadership. So that's been my biggest thing: is don't kill people, give grace, let them go. And um and and for me, just structures and systems. I have to have systems and structures to do this. So I plan out a month out for the most part. Has tough seasons
Yeah.
lately, so plan a month out, playing soloist, and then giving other people the ball. I'm starting to try to step back a little bit as I find people that feel like they're wanting to move into that route. So that's kind of another thing to me at 43, and I sing every week, which is fine, but I need to develop into the next generation too. So
Yeah. And this kind of goes with that, and it's also connecting back to the giving people grace part. But what do you do for somebody who maybe they're older or maybe they're younger and they're just being used so heavily, but what advice would you give to people who are starting to feel like maybe they are inching toward that, man, I might need to be done with this, or have a season where I'm not so heavily used. You've talked about letting people go and giving people grace, but what advice to the people? How can they really discern, do I need to just, am I just getting tired and I need to not grow weary in well doing, or do I actually need to like talk to my leadership and say, hey, I think I might be a little too
yeah.
overused and need to take a break?
Well, I feel like this conversation's come up a lot because it's a real thing. There's a book by Brady Boyd, I think his name is Addicted to Busy. It's a great book, and it talks about burnout and really how burnout in a lot of those cases, you can only find rest through God. So before you immediately say I'm burning out, figure out if everything is connecting on the home front, as far as you're reading, you're praying, you're fasting. Before, like, look at your heart. My dad has a phrase, look at the mirror. Do you have a mirror or a magnifying glass? Are you looking at the ministry and like what's wrong with the leader, what's wrong with the person? Or do you have a mirror saying, hey, am I doing the best that I can in every aspect of this? And then
Mm-hmm.
and then recently heard a podcast about joy compared to happiness. Sometimes we chase happiness, but finding joy in the things that we do, and finding those moments. I think a lot of times people lose that, like, that reason for doing what they're doing becomes so mundane or so burnt out because you're being used so much. But have you lost the joy behind why you're serving? And are you just trying to
Yeah.
chase a momentary high on, oh, Sunday was great, well, now it's Monday, and you're just like, and you're not getting that true joy that God can bring you. So anyways, that's kind of
Yeah.
a couple things.
I appreciate that. It's a hard place to be sometimes when
Yeah.
you're doing the right thing, but you're having a hard time doing it in the right spirit. And you
Yeah.
have to kind of decide or determine, is this me? Is this the environment I'm in? Is it time for
Hmm.
change, or is it time for me to change? It
Yeah.
can be tough. So
Yeah.
that advice, I think, could help people navigate that.
Yeah, and as a leader too, if you can start to, you should be able to sense it if you're really. And I understand some churches are don't have the capacity, the people to be able to serve. But I mean, I'm in the same boat, and I have a lot of volunteers in certain areas, but I still struggle to find people certain times. But my rule in how I serve is no more than two, is what I try to do. So I don't, no more than 2 Sundays. So I wouldn't want someone in my team to serve 4 Sundays in a row. For the most part, I try to
Oh,
rotate
wow.
them out. So I try to build a team to where I can at least have, no more than two. Certain people have certain roles, certain agreements with me, that we we don't, they'll play the same every week. But for the most part, with volunteers, especially, I try to make sure they are in church and they're getting fed as much as they are
Yeah,
feeding sometimes in service. So
that's huge.
yeah,
No more than 2 weeks in a row. I think I've had a couple streaks in life that were longer than 2 weeks in a row.
yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
about some of us, but
Ooh.
maybe that's a good piece of advice to take a step back.
Yeah, I'm intentional more on midweeks too. I step back more on midweeks than I do on Sundays. But
Mhm.
and it's good to show your team like, hey, I'm here and I'm trusting you. I'm not just using you whenever you go whenever I go out of town. Like, hey, I'm gone. Good luck. I try to be there too and see them and be a part of it and be at the rehearsals and not just show up at 7. I mean, I try to let the team know, hey, I'm here for you if you need me,
Yeah,
but I'm also like, I'm going to worship and be a part of this as well, So,
beautiful. I think that's a very good transition piece into our first question that I have today for our call and response section. We will be taking any viewer questions if you guys want to drop a question in the comments, but I have some prepared in advance. My first question kind of stems from this conversation. For somebody who is so multifaceted and multi-talented, and we're seeing it more and more, the next generation people, they learn from the people ahead of them, and they're even adding their own, eagerness for excellence to it. So what advice do you give to somebody who is doing so much, and they've got the advice, you need to make sure you're in church too? So how do you choose where you allocate your time and your effort? If you're somebody who's interested in maybe pulpit ministry and music ministry and creative ministry and serving on like usher and just helping out in the church, like how do you choose what ministry and where to allocate your time and effort in the kingdom?
so I have a little saying. I saw a quote, and we don't know where it came from. It says it's a philosopher. I don't know, but I've taken it and said, where your talents and or your gifting and the needs of the church intersect, there lies your calling. And so that's kind of where I've been in my life, and where I've said, okay, we need a bass player, so I'm going to dig into learning the bass, and I'm going to be the bass player. So I was a bass player for a few years. Well, then our production guy left. Hey, I had no idea about audio, so I'm like, I'll be the audio guy. So I start digging in and just do whatever I can, and just I start focusing and hammering my focus on that and developing those skills and abilities to try to get sound to the best of its ability. So I've really spent my life just doing what is necessary, and I think that's a big thing. Is if you're I think jack of all trades, I think the specialists, as amazing as they are, we are seeing less and less of them because churches can't afford them. Just,
Hmm.
hey, you can sing really good, that's not gonna help me with this and this.
Yeah.
Um and so I'm sorry, I can't hire you, or if I do, you're gonna have to work another job and blah 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 blah. So I think the jack of all trades has become so important in churches. But I think you need to ask your leadership, hey, what do you need the most? And I've kind of tried to pivot to what is necessary. And like sometimes some things have I don't know, suffered a little bit in certain ways. I kind of build a team. I get someone that's kind of leading that team, and then I'm like, okay, you got this. I'm oversight. I'm coming back and saying, hey, by the way, we need to fix this. We should have done this, and I'm kind of let them do their thing. But the biggest thing I can say is replicate yourself. Start working on your replacement or someone that can help you in these other ways, and then just know that, hey, wherever you need to be, just like focus your attention on that. That's a hard question because I feel like a lot of times I just jump and ping pong from fire to fire, and that's very easy to
Yeah.
do instead of kind of creating a system. So I try to start creating systems a little bit more and being intentional about bite-sized chunks of what I need to do, instead of like, okay, I just spent 10 hours editing, well, my whole day is gone now. Maybe I should have edited for 2 and then done worship stuff for 2, and then I should have
Yeah.
done this for 2. That's kind of what I'm starting to realize more and more, is kind of just as the need arises, trying to just give equal time instead of pouring into one specific thing. So
Okay, cool. I like that, and I feel like there is such an emphasis, and this is preached a lot and talked about a lot. Um, Calling, You know, people see their calling as this kind of far off grand destiny that they are falling behind if they're not absolutely spending every waking moment making
Yeah.
progress to that. Or on the other hand, like, well, if I'm not doing this thing that I'm called to do yet, then I must just not need to be doing anything or whatever. There's a couple back and forths there. Like it's kind of a
Yeah.
paradox to get trapped in.
Yeah.
But calling is a right now thing, like you just
Yeah.
talked about, you know.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. And,
need, filling the need right now prepares you for who you need to be when the
yeah.
big other opportunities arise.
Yeah, and I'll take 20 people that will just push a like button or do that over someone that's this amazingly talented musician that's all they can do, and they're going to hog that ministry and no one else can play, you know? Like
Hmm.
I've got great drummers. I've got like four or five. If I only let one guy play all the time, these other guys would never have developed. And so it's important that even though if you are the uber talented human being, that you give ways for other people to have space to grow. And yeah, it's just important. I feel like as a church leader, I'll take anybody. Hey, I'll run a camera. I'm like, man, thank you. You don't understand how important that is. Now you may want to be the youth president, but it might take you, just like I said in my initial thing, it may take you 25 years to be a creative director,
Yeah.
content wrangler. It's going to take you a while to get to where you want to go. But so many people, well, I know how to play to a click, or I know how to play these 13ths. Well, I should be able to play every Sunday. Well, do you serve behind the scenes? That's one of my goals is I want to see someone serve behind the scenes before they're on the platform. I would
That's
prefer
so
that.
good.
I would rather see someone run a camera and just be learning and supporting than I'm waiting for my chance to be the guitar player. I just, to me, if I don't see you serving, just serve somewhere and God will open the doors for your calling, what you want. But
Man,
yeah,
this is flowing so well. Next question is just a continuation of this conversation, and it's a leadership question specifically.
okay.
So, when you're a leader, maybe you're over a specific team in the church, or you're over a department, or some task that's getting done in the church. How do you well, this is mostly for people who don't already have this established, but how do you set the tone for that culture of service and that culture of excellence? Like you're saying you want to see people serve behind the scenes, but how do you actually convince and inspire people to do that?
I think you do it. I think you have to model it. I think hopefully the church will see that I will do whatever it takes at any capacity to serve. If I need to run a camera, I'll run a camera. I'll switch. I'll run media. I'll play bass. I'll sing. I'll run audio. I'll run lights. I don't care. Whatever they need me to do, I'll do it. So I think modeling that, and that for the church to see that you are willing, that's the first thing that will create that. And then what you do over and over and what you say over and over creates that culture. So when rehearsals, I'm intentional. Like the importance is not the platform. Like when you have spent your whole life pursuing a platform ministry, what happens when your voice goes out and you can't sing? Who are you? It's like I'm married with 3 kids. If I spend my whole life focusing on my kids and my kids leave and I'm back to just me and my wife at home, do we have a relationship? And
Yeah.
so, like, so many times I would encourage them, like, hey, do you have a relationship with Jesus first? Before, is your identity wrapped up in singing a song or being on the platform, or is your identity in Him and doing whatever that takes to serve? So that's kind of what I've tried to convey over and over and over. And being a leader, modeling that and being a part of that is important. And then, as a leader, for me, I have tried to resource them well. I said, I tell them right up front when they want to join my team, I said, look, I will never try to do anything to embarrass you. I'm going to resource you as best I can with tracks, clicks, vocal lessons, rehearsals, whatever. And then I'm going to put you in a position that I'm never going to give you something where you have the potential to fail on your, like, without me supporting. I don't want you to go into this going, I can't do this. And I'm going to look foolish. I never want them to feel that way. And hopefully hopefully we've not been there, and I've not seen anybody say, well, that I was so embarrassed by that. So that's another thing for me, is just they know I've got their back, and I'm never going to have them in a position where they're going to fail. And that's like, I have a vocal director, Joy Norris is like my vocal director. She does my vocal lessons. She, like, when we put a new person on our vocal team, I have them chart their range. So when we do a new song, I ask her, hey, who's the soloist? And like, what fits their range, what fits. So I'm not just saying, oh, I want to use so and so because they want to sing a solo and they're going to bomb it. I know that this person's capable before I've asked them to do it, And so I think it's important creating an environment that says we are for you, and they understand that I got their back no matter what.
That's a very interesting perspective to bring up, because I've definitely never thought about explicitly, like making sure that people are as prepared as possible, and that being a function of support. Yep. I've always thought, saving my skin by making them as prepared as possible, but that's actually kind of selfish to think about it that way. For the person that's growing and learning, and sacrificing their time, do your due diligence to make sure they're comfortable and they can serve with joy and not out of fear. That's wow.
Well, and it's so important. I saw
revelation.
We have multi-tracks. Obviously we have rehearsal mix. So I literally, right before this, and actually during this too, I'm getting text messages. Hey, this multi-track, can I hear? I need that drum. So we're missing a track that this drummer needs to hear. He's learning a song. So they have learned that we've got resources. And then I always tell them, hey, if you don't have something, ask me. Don't ever feel like you can't ask me for something. I'm here for you. If I drop the ball on something, have my back, and I will get you the resources that you can, like whatever I can afford, whatever we can do. I'm going to do it for you. I'm going to be here to help you. So it's just important to me. And like, I've even gone so far as to like, hey, if we got a singer that needs some help, I've talked to Joy, like we can do a vocal lesson. Like our church, if we can pay for it, 1 or 2, just to kind of get you a private voice lesson to get that like thing fixed, worked out, let's do it. And lots of critique in a positive, constructive way. And just developing people is so important, Yeah. And knowing that you're for them. That's a whole thing with Gwinnett Church here in Atlanta. We are for Gwinnett, or so. And I try to tell them, hey, we are for you. Like, I want you to succeed. And you're not here to make me look good. You're here to connect people in worship or connect people in serving, the outside world with our tech teams and stuff. So anyways,
I think probably the most vital part in like developing people and making them feel that, hey, we're for you, is just the conversation itself.
Yeah.
Like, I know I've been a couple of years in a row, even sometimes, where it's like our team is not really talking to each other. Our team is not conversing about this culture and I've even said, man, I want a culture of X, Y, and Z at my church, but then I don't ever talk to people about it or do the thing that I'm wanting to see. So
you've got to
really important.
Yeah. And it's not like one of those, it's going to manifest kind of just because you spoke it, but what you do, what you say over and over, it creates that culture. And I tell them, like, I don't go into my big dreams, but like, hey, one day I want us to write songs and I want us to sing our songs. Like, why do I have to go to other churches and write their songs for them? I want to write the songs. Like, I want our church sing songs that fit what we're feeling as a church. Mm-hmm. And so they know that that's coming in our world, that's hopefully we'll start pivoting there. We're doing a small group right now on Thursdays on songwriting, and just figuring out who's out there in our church that might have a gift that we can help develop so we can reach people. So.
Dude, this is honestly, at this point, it's just crazy because the questions, how amazing we're setting up the next question. This is ridiculous. But my next question is about songwriting. So the perfect little intro there.
Good step.
I want to talk about why write songs. So like, what does the church actually have a need for songs? Does it make your church ministry, your worship ministry, more effective? Is there a time when you need songs written? And then what are some realistic goals or steps for people? I feel like there's a ton of people who say they want to be songwriters, but like for the people who actually are looking, how can I dive into this sometimes mystical looking field and prophetic, revelations from God in song. How do people actually step into this and start doing it?
That is a good question. I think I listened to a couple podcasts about songwriting. I'm reading a couple books on songwriting, co-writing right now, from a more of a mainstream uh, secular music point of view. But they have it down. They know how to do it. But I think the church needs songs. Um, I don't want to step on any toes. I'm gonna be careful how I say it, but you know, when people that are like we're oneness, and then you got Trinitarians writing songs about the name of Jesus, and they get the power of it, and we're sitting here with, like, we live in this and we believe this in a different way than they do, and yet they're writing the songs about it. Why aren't we writing
Wow.
those? Like,
Yeah.
why are we so comfortable with the name of Jesus and what we believe that we don't write about it? And I was talking to Robin Johnson. He's at PPH, and we were in a story writing initiative, and he was talking about testimony songs about the culture and the theology, and have that back in the day, songs were, a lot of them were telling the theology and telling the story of the church, and a lot of that has gone away. And so songwriting is different, and I think it's important to have some of what we believe in there. It's not got to be just like, I'm tongue talking, holy roll, it's got to be like that, but like just the way that what our revelation is as Oneness Pentecostals, what that should do in our songs sometimes doesn't happen, and we're starting to get there. But I think the importance of writing songs in your church is because certain churches are going through things or have a certain culture. And if you can cultivate that, you just develop a deeper understanding and relationship between what is preached and what is sung. And it just makes it a cohesive bond between all of them. And you're just kind of all speaking the same language. I think that's one thing that we miss. And I try really hard to have a certain flow and certain thought processes and pray and think. But my personal desire in songs is, I want to write like vertical worship songs is what I call them. Me and Jesus are having a conversation. I'm not talking about him, I'm talking to him. That's my personal, like, next step, what I want to write. But we've written all kinds of different songs. But yeah, I think it's important that we have those songs. It creates, it's history, right? A song will live way past us. Books will live way past us. And I think that's what creates a movement, in my opinion. There's great speaking, there's literature, there's teaching and through books and whatever, and then there's music, to me, and it's another way to convey the gospel. And so I think that's why we need to keep writing as a church, is we need to convey the gospel and the things that we believe through those songs. Everybody else does it. Why aren't we doing that? And I think we do it. We're doing a great job. I think the UPCI as a whole, and the apostolic movement in general, non-UPCI, we are catching the vision of writing and how important that is. And we're seeing it being effective even outside of our circles. I've got an amazing connection in Florida with the Baptist church. They've done 2 of my songs now, and they're singing "Forever I'll Praise You, I Will Lift My Hands and Praise You." And it's cool to see a choir of 200 people lifting their hands and praising in a culture 15 years ago that's not a thing, and they're developing this worship culture, and they're seeing the importance of it. And so it's been cool to see. I love songwriting, and it's cool to see where it can go, where I'll never get to go. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. A song can have a much wider reach than you personally, with your abilities ever could. Yeah. I'm somewhat of I still consider myself somewhat of a one-hit wonder. I did have the opportunity to have a song recorded. While I was in college, and dude, the random just people that I had no clue who they were in a place where I had never envisioned having contact with would just be like, this song really ministered to me. That is just such a humbling experience.
Yep, like, it is.
Because, that was something where it's like an intimate moment with you and God, and then it grows into something more. And then before you know it, people that you've never talked to are impacted by that thing that you made. And it just, it's songs are so like, they grow and spread so almost like organically and
Hmm.
naturally on their own. Like they're alive.
Yeah,
The way they move, it's
yeah.
so cool to see. Well, and
It,
like you can market it and like make
mm,
it big and have recordings and stuff, but like the
yeah.
movement that they create is so cool.
It's really it's like you have a child, and this child is gonna go on its own and do its own thing, and it's like a living, breathing thing, and and it has a life expectancy. But this song I wrote, "Forever I'll Praise You," it's like 13 years old, and a church just re-recorded it this year. Like this year in Atlanta, of
Wow.
all places, I get this message that an Assemblies of God church is like, "Hey, we're gonna record this," and I'm like, "Oh, well, all right," and it was amazing. It's so cool to see in their way of singing and choirs and orchestras, and like it's still alive. And I'm thinking this song is dead, it's just gone. It's great, it's great to see your song do things, but then at the same time you're like, okay, it's 13 years later, and then here it comes. And it's been cool to see. You'll see on YouTube, like someone sent me a clip the other day of like, hey, this is your song in Philippines, some church is singing your song. I'm like, "Hey,
Yeah.
that's amazing. I've never been to the Philippines, but there's that song."
That's so cool. All right, I have to ask, and I know this question's annoying because everybody says the same thing, but are you, for you personally, when you're writing, is it like, are you a lyrics first guy, a music first guy, or whichever one happens first guy?
I'm kind of a lyrics melody person. My voice memos in my phone are full. And I've got, just tons of
That's,
voice memos. Voice
I
memos, I
can
kind of
relate.
start there. I start there. When I write piano, like I write faster songs with an acoustic. I write slower songs with a piano. That's just tends to be the way I write. If I want to write a fast song, I'm going to play acoustic. If I want to write a slower ballad song, I'm going to play piano. But the lyrics and the melody is what comes first for me. The more I think about it, I can play
Okay.
on the piano, but those ideas end up being really weird, cinematic orchestral score type wannabe
Yeah,
things, and never anything that would ever be able to be used in a church. So I just wish I could be a a scorer. That's my dream, but not gonna happen.
I definitely have subscribed to the fantasy of scoring
Yeah,
films or whatever. I went through a phase. I feel like everybody kind of does once you fall in love with music, but
I think we all do. Yes, we all do and have done.
all right. Well, we're creeping up on our time here. Man,
Sure.
it's just been such an honor, such a blast talking with you.
Yeah,
I feel
man.
like I personally have learned so much, and it was really good to just hear from you again. And man,
Yeah.
I think there was so much value, so much ball knowledge dropped today. Is there anything you want to leave us with? Anything maybe to look forward to for Youth Congress? Any
Oh,
teasers or leaks coming up?
I can't leak anything. But
Ah,
we're almost done with the stage design. Um,
okay.
we've been working with our company Streamline is working on it. It's going to be a great year. We're doing a couple things different. Just trying to grow it, and where we're going to try to capitalize. We've got to do indie one more year. We just kind of just the COVID and the
Yeah.
contracts and all that stuff. So learning more about that has been fun, but I think it's going to be a great year. Um, Hopefully, I don't know what songs are going to come out of it. I know they did like the youth did a couple songs last year, but I don't know if they're going to do anything like that. I'm kind of out of it on that side of things. But the stage is going to look cool. So I will give
All
it
right.
DJ would kill me if I said anything about it, but but no, I think it's going to be great. General Conference in Salt Lake is going to be pretty cool too. We just went out there and did a site visit a couple months ago, and that's going to be a great one. But Salt Lake City is a beautiful city. It's just expensive to get out there, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's going to be good. But for me, leaving it something is whatever you're going to do, just serve. I think that's the biggest thing is just get involved. And if it's not what you dream of doing, like I had a dream of one day I wanted a song to be sung at Youth Congress. That was like, man, maybe one day they'd sing my song. And then we're over there and I'm just doing something, and they started singing a song for altar, and I'm like, oh my goodness, there it is. But it took it took me dreaming at a little level and then working towards that. And then I think the other thing is, don't ever despise the small things. Thinking about bands and playing, when we played in a church in South Georgia, and that opened a door to another thing, which opened another door to another thing, and it just grows. And I think don't ever despise just being available and doing the work, even in those small things, because if you can't do that there, you're not going to be able to do that here at Youth Congress, General Conference, whatever. You're not going to get those opportunities. And it is important of who you know, but it's also more important of how you know them. Are you your relationships with people and how people perceive you and who you are off camera and how you interact with people is relationships are everything. And you can be the most talented person in the room, but if nobody wants to work with you and everybody like talks about you when you walk out the door, God forbid,
Yeah.
that's who are you? And so it's so important to develop relationships and be a relational person. Build the key relationships and
Mhm.
just and you never know what door God will open up through that. So that's kind of my parting advice.
Absolutely. He who is excellent or faithful with little can be trusted with much. I guess that's how it
Absolutely.
goes. But
Absolutely.
man, thank you so
Yeah.
much for all
No
the
problem, man.
wisdom and experience you've shared with us. I've had a great time.
Me too.
Arkansas
Thank
Youth
you.
Worship, thank you guys so much. And we'll be seeing you at some events this summer, Ryan.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Absolutely. It's been a blast. All right. See y'all next time.
Later.